I have seen your dance yesterday in Kolaba or somewhere, I don't know where you were doing.
Horniman Circle. Imagine putting a homosexual in Horniman Circle.
The entire freedom movement, the seeds are Bengal.
They are in Bengal.
Revolution, Arvind and all. But today when I go there, it's such a dehydrated society. Today, I have been told categorically by the Bengal government, I cannot shoot in Sundarban area.
Yes.
And I cannot shoot in Kashmir also.
Yes.
Is there any parallel? And what is your media gossip which you write regularly?
I do.
What do you think will be the outcome of Bengal?
So, Bengal is the only election I've gotten right. Otherwise, all my election predictions
that's
go
why
wrong.
I'm asking you.
भाइयों बहनों, बीजेपी को ना बस 120 सीट मिलने वाला है.
Okay guys, welcome to this very ad hoc podcast called Brutally Honest. नमस्कार. मेरे साथ अभी मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले एक पॉडकास्ट रिकॉर्ड किया था with कुशल मेहरा about God and all. But then the only person I know who is omnipresent is my dear friend Abhijit Iyer Mitra, and he's also called AIM, which also becomes AIM.
Yeah.
Okay, so Abhijit, I like you because you are a diverse person and you are not restricted to one definition कि ऐसा ही है, and you are never conscious of your own being. I have seen your dance yesterday in Kolaba or somewhere, I don't know where you were doing.
Horniman Circle. Imagine putting a homosexual in Horniman Circle.
A lot of people were commenting, they were saying कि ये पक्का 400 में से 2-3 सीट कम करवाएगा. But if that is the cost of being free and happy and gay, I would rather let the society pay that cost. I have no problems with that. लेकिन a lot of people, talk about LGBTQ. They associate this kind of behavior with being a gay or being part of this community. I work with lots and lots of LGBTQ community people. And in fact, film industry में मैं बताऊँ, जो सबसे ज़्यादा creative लोग हैं ना, they are not the modern LGBTQ. They have been traditional. आप देखो, one of the best Gautam Rajadaksha, one of the finest photographers we have made. Then David Whitbread, I have worked with him, one of the greatest costume designers. And some और नाम नहीं लूँगा because they are alive, they may not like it. Imam, my friend, then some of the great hairstylists and all. So I have two questions, but first why LGBTQ people who belong to this community are generally so creative and sensitive, and there is definite difference between the so-called non-LGBTQ and this community. Why? What is it that makes them more sensitive and more inclined towards creative and softer things of life?
So, that's a very interesting question because of the way you framed it. You know why? Because you said it was the older generation that was like that, right? Because at that time you realized very early that you were different, and you start introspecting a lot more. You have to sort of almost live in a make-believe world where you're normal, and make-believe leads to creativity. I mean, you look at everything, books, films, photography, it's kind of make-believe, it's capturing a point in time which may or may not be real. Fantasized to some extent, right? I think that is why you saw a great spurt of creativity amongst the LGBTQ community at one point of time. Today, when it's become normalized, it's all become activism and protests. There's no
definition. Normalized or hyper-normalized? Which one would you pick up?
So in India, it's become normalized. In the West, it's become in-your-face imposition.
Hyper-normalized.
It's not normalization, it is imposition. Okay, this is not normalization. This is, you have to, if you are not attracted to a man or haven't slept with a man, you are a bigot. If you haven't slept with a woman with a mustache, you're a bigot. If you don't like people the size of a hippopotamus, you're a fat-phobic bigot. Okay, ये सब it is not hyper-normalization, it is imposition, right? Now, for me, I'm different in that I have zero creativity in me.
That's what you want to believe.
No, I know that for a fact. I have zero creative talents in the sense कि ना ही तो डांस कर सकता हूँ, nor can I sing.
But wearing a burqa was part of very creative mind. No non-creative mind can ever do that.
But that's comedy. I mean, that's more.
That is
it's
creativity.
satire, I guess.
But
Yeah,
that is
fair
creativity.
point. Yeah, satire. I think the only thing I'm really creative at, which I'm proud of, is cooking. I love cooking. I love cooking. I love experimenting and cooking.
What happened to those frugal tweets? I used to love them and comment on them.
I've mostly become vegetarian, and this is one of the reasons I've bloated up, because my protein intake went down massively, and a lot of it is now carbs, right, which is problematic. I need to deal with that. But anyway, इसमें भी क्या है कि my work is so almost morbid in a sense. When you're doing nuclear theory and things like that, you're literally calculating how many people to kill. Where do I aim a nuclear weapon where it causes the maximum damage? What kind of damage? How many hundreds of thousands do we? And we're not talking about going and slitting somebody's throat. We're talking about killing lakhs of people at one shot, if not crores of people at one shot. It's such a morbid kind of a thing. And to be fair, I enjoy it immensely. It's very technical, right? Defense modernization and things like that. What is defense modernization? There's not a single piece of defense equipment that isn't meant to be killing people, essentially, right? I need to get out of that circle. I need to make a fool of myself every now and then, and I know I'm making a fool of myself. I enjoy making a fool of myself.
Are you aware of that?
I'm totally aware of that.
When you were dancing yesterday, were you aware of that?
I am aware of that. And the second thing is, I'm also, many people think I'm very arrogant. And I find that's a fantastic way. I've also realized I sometimes tend to get full of myself. And I find that humiliating myself that way, what other people see as humiliating myself that way, brings me down. Because I have seen so many people in my line of work who are so incredibly pompous, who take themselves so seriously. They think the whole world revolves.
I've written that.
They think the world revolves around them, and I don't want to be like that. There is something to do with proximity to government and policy, and especially defense and the kind of, in defense you don't deal with lakhs, you're dealing with thousands of crores. There is literally nothing under a few thousand crores that you're dealing with. And lots of pimps too. And because of that, people are so full of themselves. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to become them because I detest them. So, I find it's also a very conscious decision to go around making a fool of myself in that sense. And you know what? I enjoyed being a kid. I learned this from dogs. Dogs don't care. Unko jo karna hai, they'll do zoomies at any point of time. They'll jump up and lick you, or they'll scratch their whatever in wherever. I think it makes a person a lot more.
You can use the word balls. I have no problems.
Yes, sure. They're balls. And I find it very liberating from my line of work, because my line of work is all death. So I need that sort of thing.
So what do you think about the arrest of stand-up comedians?
Yeah, I never support anybody's arrest till conviction. Okay?
You do?
I'm very clear about this. Say even Arvind Kejriwal or Umar Khalid and people like that.
You don't agree with Arvind Kejriwal?
I do not.
You publicly say that?
Yes.
On your social media also?
Yes.
But then you are supposed to be anti-Arvind Kejriwal and...
But I am. See, my thing is, if you hold him in jail, you are reducing the burden of proof on the police and the judiciary, which is very bad. Police or investigative agency, whatever. And it is
Which agency has taken him, CBI or
I
ED?
think ED. I don't know. I don't know what it is right now. But it reduces the burden of proof on them. They can hold you indefinitely. And see, it's corrosive on society and it's not good for anyone. कल सरकार बदलेगा तो हम भी जाएंगे
आप भी जाओगे हाँ अभी मैं एक एग्जांपल दूं आपको there is a boy who's our boy बहुत I love him and he has been writing उसको पंजाब में आ गई आपकी गवर्नमेंट तो they sent an FIR to him, they filed a FIR, he has to now go and report. Happened with me in Chandigarh, they sent it to me in Bengal. So now the state governments have also learned this art. So what they are doing is And somebody said, some politician said, what if we file so many cases in Bengal and Bengal police comes to the Prime Minister and Home Minister's office? See, it may come true like all the Hollywood films, they come true. Do you think it's a little warning to the coming times?
I have always, you find any of my tweets, I'll always say, file defamation cases. See, if you are outraged by somebody, you file a defamation case against them. You are outraged. Now, why should the state bear the responsibility of your outrage? But we need to understand Arvind Kejriwal and Omar Khalid are there on criminal charges, right? But even there, so convict them. यार 4 साल कहाँ लग रहा है तुमको convict करने में किसी बंदे को?
5 साल हो गया.
5 साल हो गया. That boy has lost 5 years of his life without a conviction. He may be guilty as hell. Arvind Kejriwal, I'm 100% sure is guilty as hell. Okay? But my thing is, you do not arrest till you. Tell me, if you're talking about evidence destruction, what evidence would he have not already destroyed that he's going to destroy after you have notified him and everything? Okay, so it's very stupid. So, I think there has to be very clear standards of bail or whatever, which is key. Tampering of evidence, you have to prove. You can't just say he's going to tamper with evidence. Show how you're going to tamper with evidence. In what way is he going to tamper with evidence? Or flight risk. Or intimidation of witnesses and etc. which comes under tampering of evidence. Okay? I'm very clear about this.
But do you think in Delhi, I've been traveling to Bengal, so I don't know the details of this election, and I'm keeping myself a little out of this also because I can't handle so many FIRs coming from Bengal and Tamil Nadu and all these places. So, but a lot of people told me that he may get sympathy vote. What is your analysis on that in Delhi?
I am not seeing sympathy in Delhi. I'll honestly tell you that. I am seeing a clueless party now, which has a rudderless party rather, which doesn't seem to get its game together because the central nodal guy has essentially been put in jail, right?
And what is your media gossip which you write regularly about Raghav Chadha?
I do? I don't know. What are you talking about?
You write so many media gossip columns.
I do? I have no idea about it. See, wo kya ho jata hai?
I love your media gossips, by the way. So cryptic, it's like crossword,
See, I don't know about it. I'm kind of bipolar that way. What happens is I shift into my other personality, and this part of my brain doesn't know what that part of the brain is doing.
Okay, so any part of your brain knows what is happening with him. Why is he not here in India? Does eye surgery take so long?
Yeah, eye surgery does not take that long. Let's be very clear about it. As I understand it, he's very scared. He's very scared of getting arrested because there are 2-3 scams that his name is cropped up in. There's the Jal Board scam because he was in the Jal Board when they were over metering people. In order to give free water to somebody else, they had to over meter somebody else because nothing is ever realistically free. Like all the free rides for women, technically it's a Bangalore ka taxpayer who's paying for it. No, it's not free. The company has to be reimbursed. So, there's the Jal Board scam, there's one other scam, I forget what it is right now. And he's running scared, and that is why he's there. I mean, you don't claim to have an eye surgery and go around meeting Preet Gill, who's this Khalistani lady MP in the UK and things like that, right? So, agar jhoot bolte ho, at least make it believable jhoot.
Yeah, I mean, this is also, anyway, let's not get into that. You love Bengal politics a lot. And you like certain politicians from Bengal a lot.
Yes.
Okay, and what is happening in Bengal? What do you think will be the outcome of Bengal?
So, Bengal is the only election I've gotten right. Otherwise, all my election predictions
that's
go
why
wrong.
I'm asking you.
The people I trust on the ground who've always given me good advice on Bengal are telling me there is definitely a swing in favor of the BJP. I think because of Sandesh Khali, there's a lot of anger amongst the tribal communities out there as well. And what happened is, if you look at the last electoral map, all the Bihar adjacent side of Bengal voted BJP, all the Bangladesh adjacent side of Bengal voted for the TMC, right? In
For the first time, Bangladesh side is asserting, the Hindu vote of Bangladesh side is asserting itself.
It's asserting itself, but remember, a lot of tribals there are also Muslims, and they are also very upset right now with what's happened. So you're seeing a fissure even within the Muslim community out there, right? But remember, Bengal politics, people don't realize this. Bengal is the biggest tragedy of India. Bengalis have been screwed over so badly for the last 70, 80, 90 years. We don't realize this. The British targeted us for industrialization, which happened.
Since 1905, I think.
Since 1905. And what happened out there was, that, you know, it was exactly like Ukraine. When Stalin forcibly industrialized eastern Ukraine, it also caused the famine out there. Because what happens is you constantly transfer grain and resources to the industrial centers क्योंकि उधर surplus चाहिए होता है, और जो गांव होते हैं उनका surplus बस यार बार बार आएगा ना, हफ्ते के लिए चावल रख लो काफी।
बंगाल में भी
वही हुआ। So you know, in many ways the Bengal famines were an outcome of industrialization in many ways, right? Bengal at independence was the most industrial state in India. It was the richest state in India. In fact, Bombay was not the financial capital, Kolkata was the financial capital.
In my film, we are showing, I've been studying only Bengal for this because, let me just say, put this, then I want to open it. Because when we started studying, you know, I wanted to make what is the truth of partition? Because what we know about the heroes and villains of partition. So everybody in memes, in popular literature, understanding and photographs if you see, and cinema especially Bollywood, whenever we talk about partition or the freedom movement, everything boils down to Punjab. All the pictures you see are Punjab and all that, the glorification of Sikh movement and all. But the entire freedom movement, the seeds are Bengal.
They are in Bengal.
Spiritual renaissance, literary renaissance. Take anything, social reform, theatre, painting, art, nationalism, Bande Mataram. Journalism, when Sri Aurobindo started Bande Mataram after 1905, it's because of that they had to unite East Bengal and West Bengal. Revolution, Aurobindo and all, everything is Bengal. But today when I go there, it's such a dehydrated society. Swapanda invited me to National Museum for a lecture. Balcony, everything in this heritage building was full. Thousands of young people. When I took names of all those greatest of the Bengalis, can you believe it? They didn't know more than 4 or 5 names, except for Satyajit Ray Tagore, and they didn't know about Sri Aurobindo. How is it possible? So, has it been systematically destroyed by the communist mindset?
Not just the communists. I think we need to realize it started right from Nehru, right from day one.
Okay. So Congress was not in power.
But it started right in 47, no?
True.
So what happened was
45 actually, 46 direct action day.
46 के बाद ही शुरू हो गया. What happened was that, see, this is exactly in North Korea. Okay, North Korea, people don't realize that the second highest per capita income in Asia.
You won't take your words back. You're calling North Korea.
Yes, 100%.
Bengalis will get very upset.
Let them. I'm holding up the mirror to them. I'm a Bengali यार. मैं खुद अपनी state के बारे में बात करता हूँ. Half Bengali. North Korea had the second highest per capita income in Asia till 1979. It was the model to which all other Asian communist left-leaning states were held up to. Okay, today it is the poorest country on earth. It is a fully industrial state that got deindustrialized, and Nehru did to Bengal exactly what the Kim Il-sung family did to North Korea. I'll explain. The first thing that they did, remember in Punjab when partition happened, there was a near equal movement of Hindus and Sikhs to this side, Muslims to that side. In Bengal, it was never equal. There was a huge movement of Hindus here. There was no equivalent, much less equivalent movement of Muslims out there. So this one-for-one replacement did not happen. Okay? Punjabi refugees and Sindhi refugees got much higher. Actually, Sindhi refugees also got a raw deal, but Punjabi refugees got a much higher compensation rate than Bengali refugees did, by a factor of 2 or 3 almost. We're not even talking a percentage, we're talking 200-300% more. Then what happened was they brought in the freight rationalization policy of Nehru. What the freight rationalization policy did was, now Bengal had a great advantage. Cotton mills, cotton factories, jute factories and industry. Industry, all the minerals and things used to come from Jharkhand, Bihar. Jute and cotton used to come from East Bengal, okay, which had become Bangladesh. That got cut off. So they started growing cotton and jute out here, which was fine. It wasn't as fine quality, but it was there. But when you have freight rationalization, what Nehru is saying is you can't charge less for transporting from Jharkhand to Bengal than you can from Jharkhand to Bombay. So it meant any competitive advantage of location went off for Kolkata completely. Overnight that destroyed industry.
So they lost out on that.
They overnight not lost out, it was deliberately destroyed. Intentionally it was destroyed. Okay. Nehru perpetrated an industrial genocide on Bengal. Okay, exactly what Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un have done to North Korea, mostly Kim Jong-un. Then what happened was you had the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1957, which was the government will do all these things, private sector nahi hoga. Now remember, Bengal, the Bengalis and Marwadis were a potent combination who used to run a lot
and
of...
Sikhs also in Bengal.
Lots of Sikhs in Bengal at one point of time, not anymore,
not anymore.
but now it's mostly Marwadis and Bongs. It was a very potent financial center and industrial center. All of that, all those industries got destroyed overnight. Then you had the 1971 war and things. 10 million refugees came in. Imagine 10 million refugees coming in.
So there are two partitions.
There are two partitions.
4 million were given legal citizenship.
Yes.
By Indira Gandhi.
Yes.
So yeah, that is right.
But that entire...
But you are saying 7 million came. I have a record of 4 million.
A total of 10 million Bangladeshi Hindus came over.
But then so many Muslims also infiltrated into
They
our
also
system.
came. They also came. Okay? They also came. And they never went back really.
No.
Right? Imagine the burden. You've already in the last
poor
20 years.
homeless people.
Yes. In the previous 20 years, your father and you have demolished the industry and viability of the state. On top of that, the 10 million at that time was 20% of the population. Your population increases overnight by 20%. How are you going to provide services or anything? It just collapsed. And it went from being India's richest state to India's poorest state overnight. And the entire burden of the war was in that sense extracted from Bengal. Okay? Of course, Bengal had nothing much to provide. But all the arms that were given to the Mukti Bahini, the Bangladeshi freedom fighters, they came back to India as Naxal arms, right?
True.
And when you deindustrialize, you create an urban guerrilla warfare, which is what Naxals, well, they went into rural areas. They were all rich bloody buggers who thought they were revolutionaries and they'd go out into villages and become Naxals out there because they want the people to rise up.
I have written a full book
Why?
on that. Urban
I know.
Naxals.
That's why I brought it up. And it was entirely, it had entirely to do with supplying arms and the deindustrialization of Bengal. Naxalism was created by Indira Gandhi. Now, she also criminalized politics. Don't forget that. It was Indira who criminalized politics in India. And when the communists came to power, because it was in response to Siddhartha Shankar Ray's excesses as chief minister, that the communists came to power. What they did was they set up all their communist control units everywhere. NGOs could work, but NGOs could not give to people. They had to give to the CPI, and the CPI would do the distribution. So all the
So that is the redistribution of
that
wealth.
is the redistribution.
That mindset is coming here.
Yeah. So that is exactly what they did. Now, and that is how they were able to control. They controlled it in almost a quasi-terroristic way. It was literally Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge kind of control of each individual towns. Fine, they didn't take out, they did in Mari Jhapi, they did take out people and kill them. But I guess having only a state government and not a central government meant Jyoti Basu couldn't be a Pol Pot, though I think he worshipped Pol Pot.
You think so?
I personally feel so, yeah. He was a crook, but he was doctrinaire. His own son was such a goddamn crook. He used to take loans from the government and say the business has failed, so we can't pay it back. Who cares now? Mar gaya, sad gaya, chodo. So then what happened was, what Mamta Banerjee did was, she out-communisted the communists. She didn't right-wing defeat the communists. She was like, tum communist ho, to main Stalin ki maa hu. Okay. And she took over that entire ground-controlled criminal enterprise. So the control of Bengal has always been a criminal enterprise. Okay. Now, when the BJP won the, almost won the general election in Bengal, they got 19 out of the 40 odd seats out there.
Sorry, 1 second. Because I was there recently and one young boy told me a very beautiful thing. So I'm just putting it. He said when communists were ruling Bengal, we got the worst of communism. Yeah. When Congress was ruling, we got the worst of Congress. When Mamta came, we got the worst of communism and the worst of Congress.
Basically. That's exactly what happened. And so what happens now is, when those 19 seats BJP won, did you notice there was a huge bunch of people from the TMC moving over to the BJP? They were mostly criminal elements. And BJP mein to criminals ke liye room nahi hai, na khaunga, na khane dunga. So it was the loss of criminals.
There are lots of...
Look, there are lots of gundas, but they didn't realize it at that time. Okay, they didn't realize the ground power that all these criminals were bringing, which is why most of them after the assembly elections, they didn't know how to use the criminal power at their disposal. And after that, after Mamta won those elections by what huge thumping majority, they all moved back to the TMC.
Yeah.
So it was that simple.
I'll just give you one example. We have been researching. So I don't know if you are aware. I have filed a case against Mamta Banerjees. So I am the only filmmaker or creative person who has filed, who's fighting a legal case against a sitting chief minister. You know, nobody has done. People criticize, they don't do it. I know I'm going to be the loser in the end. I know that because the state works in a very, very complex manner. I'm understanding now. But my team had gone to do research. And when they, so the news spread, somehow people got to know that that's my team. I didn't go there. So I had a big research team with cameras and all. So when they went to Gopal Patha's place over there, everything was going fine. And suddenly then they were gheraued by all these Muslim population. And the cops came. And my team was house arrested. Their phones were taken. They were asked not to move out of the hotel for 2-3 days. And later on, I got a call. I won't name the person. I mean, I'll tell you off camera. I got a call from the same people who had gheraued my people. And they said, we'll help you with the interviews. We can take them wherever you want. And they were all TMC crooks, you know.
Yeah.
They wanted to extort us. Okay. And then I got the same thing happened with me. I had a book launch in one of these biggest malls. And you remember there was a mall when all these Muslim population went in summertime and they stayed there, and Mamta Banerjee said they can stay there. So she said, no, you cannot. I have a CRPF, so we have to send emails, get Home Ministry permissions and all. 5 o'clock was my book launch. I was leaving at 4:30 at Hyatt Hotel. I came down and they said, sir, we have just got the message from state government. The police was also there, that you cannot go there. I said, what is the reason in writing? They said, because it's a Muslim area, that's why I can't go there. Muslim area. Okay, it's a democratic government. So I know how it is running. Then we did all the research on Bangladesh border, this Sundarban area. Sandesh Khali has come in news now. We wrote a script where we are using some examples when nobody even knew the name Sandesh Khali. Because what was happening in Sandesh Khali, Shahjahan Sheikh and all, they would, all these tribal people, they want their land.
Yes.
Okay, so they are involved in 3 mafia. One is land ownership, which exactly what happened in Noah Khali in 1946.
Yes.
Demography change.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened in Noah Khali. This guy Ghulam Sarawar, with violence, started changing demography so that it could go to Bangladesh, Calcutta. You know, direct action was for Calcutta, right? Yeah. And the third thing, censorship, which means that your newspapers and your things are not allowed to go out of this boundary. Same thing happened in Noah Khali. So I said, has the partition ended in Bengal or not? Or is it still continuing? And maybe like Kashmir, even after the abrogation of Article 370, a normal Indian Hindu citizen cannot go and do business and live there and speak freely. Same thing has happened in Bangladesh. Are we, see, I'm asking a very genuine, authentic, and I have no political intention here, because you are the only person who can tell me honestly. I'm in a dilemma. My intellectual mind and my instinct tells me, is it that by inch, person, individual by individual, slowly we are changing the demography in Sundarban as a very big experiment, like Kashmir became laboratory, it's becoming a laboratory. We are changing demography inch by inch, slowly. What will happen maybe after 20 years, that a certain area of Bengal will become like Kashmir, where I cannot go and make films or shoot, because today I have been told categorically by the Bengal government I cannot shoot in Sundarban area.
Yes.
And I cannot shoot in Kashmir also.
Yes.
Is there any parallel you see in this?
Of course it is. I mean,
Please
why are you doubting it? Salami tactics, as it's called. You know, salami, cold cuts. It's called salami tactics. You know, cold cuts, which is these cured pork-based meats that you get in Europe. They're always served very thinly sliced. You don't eat the whole thing like a sausage. It's always thinly sliced and served slice by slice. But in the end, the entire thing, like cheese, you don't eat chunks of cheese, right? You slice it up and
cut garlic.
Exactly. So that's the way you do it. Okay? And it's called salami slicing. It's a very old tactic. That is exactly what is happening out here. Why do you think the loudest voice against CAA NRC was the TMC and Mamta Banerjee? They don't want you to even do a survey. She won't let you shoot. She will never let government census takers go there and actually enumerate the CAA NRC in those areas.
She, in her speech, I heard, she calls Hindus shaitan. Okay. In the interiors of Bengal, Hindus are called shaitan by the villagers.
I'm not surprised. Do you know, very strangely, Vivek, ये जो पूरा ये मीर जाफर ट्रेटर है and Siraj-ud-Daulah hero है, do you know what a nasty character Siraj-ud-Daulah was? He was a rapist, he was a psychopath, he was a child rapist and a child psychopath. He started killing as a minor. Okay, he was a nut job of the nth order. He was no freedom. ऐसे freedom fighter पे लानत है, लानत. थूकने भी उसके कबर पे थूकने के भी लायक नहीं है वो.
Are you aware that when you're saying you may piss off lots of intellectual people, bhadra log?
We can prove it documentarily. He himself admits to going around raping women, Hindu women specifically. He used to target them. पता है? So what ended up happening was the Hindu memory of Siraj-ud-Daulah and this glorious golden period or whatever nonsense it was that in British areas there was at least the rule of law. With this psychopath, it was a feudal medieval state with zero rule of law and anything like that. कुछ भी हो सकता है तुम्हारा. You'll be boiled alive like
no right to life.
No right to life. Okay, your life depended on the whims and fancies of the nobility out there. Okay, and what happened was we view the British as liberators. And because they industrialized us, they turned us into the early version of woke. So in many ways, the independence movement was the wokery.
Bhadralok and woke also rhymes. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it is wokery or if it is gratitude. You know, gratitude is one of the heaviest burdens to carry. We were very grateful to the British for liberating us from Siraj-ud-Daulah and scumbags like that. But you know, gratitude is really a very heavy burden to carry. So you were like, चल, अब तूने दे दिया ना, अब 15 साल में हम भूल गए, अब आज़ादी दे हमको. We can manage things by ourselves. So they created a very educated class. You know, my maternal grandmother from Tamil Nadu, he was abandoned.
Which side of your parentage is from Bengal?
My paternal is from Bengal.
Maternal, your mom?
No, my paternal, father's side.
Father.
So my...
which part of Bengal?
My Dadaji is from, it's a place called, we're neighbors of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, I forget.
So Bankim Chatterjee was in Bihar, no?
Noihati.
Ah, acha, okay.
Noihati, that's it.
Noihati means new city,
new Hat. So, from my Dadaji's side, we're from Noihati and we're literally neighbors of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, who wrote Vande Mataram and Anandamat. We ate fish from the same, we shared the same fish pond. We ate the same fish. So the fish my ancestors ate was literally the descendants of, well, not direct descendants, but
that's
maybe
why you have so much nationalism flowing in your blood.
Possibly. और उसमें क्या था कि my grandmother's side were from Bangladesh, were Bengal. So you know, West Bengalis are called Ghotis and East Bengalis are called Bengal, and each one has a superiority complex of their own. Okay? So we're from there. From the south, we're from a place called Palakkad, which is now in Kerala, which used to be a Brahmin majority, which has now become a Muslim majority. So
and you are what, more of Tamil Brahmin or more of a Bengali?
I identify much more as a Tamil, but you know, there are times when that fierce kind of Bengali pride
have
comes
a very
in.
strong Bengali element.
I think so. So my maternal, my mom's, the Tamil side, the Palakkad side of the family, my granddad, he was abandoned by his parents when he was a little kid, him and his elder sister. They had huge gambling debts and they just left one night and they abandoned them. So he was brought up by his jijaji, that is his sister's husband. And he went to a local corporation school and he graduated out of a local college and he became a King's Commissioned Officer in the Indian Army. And what happened was, and he left, at independence he left, he reached the rank of colonel, so he was Colonel Vishwanathan, and he left and he joined the police force. And what happened out there was, imagine coming from an ordinary college and being able to speak better English than I can, you can, anybody else can today. The British had quality institutions. It was very unequal, but जो quality के लिए बनता था, वो quality था. All of that's been eroded. I mean, that's for a different set of complex social reasons and things like that. But this demographic change is something we see over and over again. And what Mamta is trying to do is she's exercising a complete blanket censorship on Eastern West Bengal because she sees that. Now, what she doesn't realize is the moment they become a majority, the first thing they do is kill off socialists and communists. Do you know that? The first thing socialists and communists do, till they are not in power, socialists, communists and Islamists are always best friends. When they come to power, the first people Islamists kill off are communists and the first people communists kill off are Islamists. So,
and also, as long as they are not in power, they talk about free speech. The first thing they kill after coming is the speech.
Free speech, exactly. अब इसमें भी क्या होता है कि this is why she opposed CAA NRC, because she does not want you to know the reality of what the demographic change is. Because see, it's not just birth rates. There's massive infertility in the Muslim population in India because of chronic inbreeding. So what is happening is, in Bengal at least, you can have replacement coming from over the border. Okay? So that is very rampant out there, which is why she opposes CAA NRC. She doesn't want anybody going filming out there, nothing.
That's why when the ED or CID went to Sandesh Khali, they were attacked.
They were attacked.
They don't want them.
They don't want them. And see, they will claim it is your freedom to show whatever you want. But you must be accompanied by a government minder, which is to say a TMC or CPIM. एक ज़माने में CPIM minder था, now it's a TMC minder, so that you can be correctly guided. Because see, uneducated people will take you down the path of ignorance, and only a truly trained TMC certified humanities expert can accurately show you and choose for you the people you will talk to, so that it conveys an accurate representation of the ground reality. Tell me, how is this different from North Korea? I have been to North Korea. Trust me, you go to
When was the last time you went to Calcutta?
2 years back.
2 years back? Did you go to Chaurangi or that side? Did you go that side?
No.
Did you cross Oberoi Hotel at any point of time?
No. See, when I go to Calcutta these days, I didn't go out in the countryside at all. I was staying at the Oberoi. And my entire
Oberoi I'm talking about.
So
So what do you feel? I'm asking you a very question as a creative person. What do you feel when you go to Oberoi? Because it's a heritage hotel. I think it's a heritage building and it's a pride of India. No other hotel has seen as much history as Oberoi perhaps has seen. But outside Oberoi, you can't even make out that's Oberoi, because the entire footpath has been given to Revdi Walas and all the Muslim population sits there. How does it feel when you go there?
Oberoi, you know, it's got that huge central courtyard with the pool inside. It feels like an island, because inside the Oberoi itself, in the first floor, all the outer part of the Oberoi is all Juggi Jhopdi wala shops.
That's what I'm saying, but Mamta has legalized them.
She's completely legalized them, and this is how street power works. You have to keep throwing crumbs to people, which is usually legalization of illegal hovels and things like that. So land grabbing. Finally, they will grab the entire Oberoi. तुम देख लो क्या होगा, that somebody will do some illegal construction in a hovel out there. It will undermine one of the walls of the Oberoi, which is quite a tall building. There will be some, God forbid, but this is how communists work. This is how these kind of Kim Jong-un states work. There'll be some kind of a tragedy that happens out there. The Oberois will be blamed for it. The general manager will be arrested and things like that. Then they will claim they're taking over the property in the people's interests, because this was a classic case. It is actually a metaphor. Oberoi falling on Revdi Walas is a metaphor for class oppression, how the upper classes crush literally the lower classes. People's freedom, democracy,
liberation. So if I
liberation.
say this new Congress thing, anti-industrialist, anti-business, anti-capitalism, anti-rich basically, do you think there are some seeds of communist ideology over there, isn't it? Because what you explained...
It is entirely communist. You know, it is actually Marx's dream come true. Marx said that for communism to happen, you have to be a fully industrialized capitalist state.
So like Indira Gandhi was put at ransom, she was taken over by communists. I mean, the entire ideological fundamental, the ideological basis of Indira Gandhi's regime in 60, I showed in my film The Tashkent Files, you know, with all the... do you think it's repeating, the history is repeating itself, and the whole liberalization and all that is going?
It's totally repeating itself. It is totally repeating itself. Bengal lives on its past glory. There is nothing glorious in Bengal at the moment. You know, I wrote a piece on the USSR because I lived in the USSR as a kid. And you know, I wrote a piece on the 100th anniversary of the Russian Revolution in 2017 in the Daily Pioneer. You know, Chandan Mitra used to carry my pieces. And you know, I showed out there how all those, and you know, early Soviet artists were brilliant. If you go to the Tretyakov Modern,
which is the best art, music.
And music, everything. You go opposite the Tretyakov Modern, which is opposite Gorky Park. Philosophy, everything. Gorky Park. You'll see these guys were genius brilliant. You know, there was a whole architecture movement. Bauhaus, the whole Bauhaus school actually started in Russia. People don't know this, right? It was Russians who started it. And all of this happened in the terminal phase of the Tsarist rule, when, you know, the Tsar went on losing power and, you know, logon ka creativity or talent ubhad ke aa raha tha. And all the great music and ballet came out from that period. And what happens is, people, they all credit Lenin and Stalin with, you know, Shostakovich and Rachmaninoff music, or, you know, some of the amazing Soviet artists. One of my favorite is a guy called Indulis Zarins. It's the Latvian Red Rifleman. Stunning painting, which is there at the Tretyakov. And, you know, all of these people are credited as products of the communist system. They were not. They were all products of the Tsarist system, because once that generation died, you name one Soviet composer, great Soviet composer, who wasn't born and trained in the Soviet period. Khachaturian, who's probably the last great Soviet composer, born in Tsarist times, trained in Tsarist times, and his Gayane Suite it's the last great piece of Russian music produced after Shostakovich and Rachmaninoff.
Actually, there's a famous saying. I was in Europe and they were saying, actually the race supremacy should have been fought by Russia, not Germany.
Exactly, exactly. They were so far ahead in the arts and architecture and everything. Stalin destroyed that entire proto-Bauhaus movement in the USSR. He killed off all the good artists, pretty much. I mean, killed off the art at any rate. And he destroyed all the good music. You know, some of the greatest ballerinas of our time were taken off into Siberia.
Like the best cabaret in the world was in Calcutta.
Used to be.
Used to.
Why
did they stop it? Cabaret, what's the problem?
You know, all communist philosophy has a huge problem with porn and this thing. They believe in nudist societies. Do you know that? One of the things you'll come across in East Germany and the USSR, and but not in North Korea, is that they used to do a lot of nudist beaches and things because they wanted, it was actually the opposite. Today, you know, wokeism is essentially neo-Marxism. They are sexualizing everybody's mind.
Yeah.
But the classical communists of the USSR believed in desexualizing everybody. If you all go around naked on the beach or on the riverfront or whatever, then you'll be completely desexualized. You'll just see it as normal, so you won't get horny or whatever and things like that, right? They actually had, if you read some of the early Soviet texts on sexual attraction, on homosexuality, on anything like that, you could actually see there was some level of honesty in their thought. There was actually some scientific application, whereas neo-Marxism completely throws away, and this is what they do, you understand.
What an analysis.
When they are not in power, they are not in power, science is oppression. When they are in power, everything should be scientific. When they are outside of power, Muslims are oppressed. When they're in power, they kill off all the mullahs. Do you know, when I was in Bukhara, I went to the Madrasa of Ulugh Beg. It's a beautiful building, and I was wearing my kurta pajama. So this guy, who I guess was a teacher, a mullah or a muezzin out there, he comes out and he's like, "You're an Indian from India. Oh, come, I want to talk to you." Very broken English.
Where was this?
Bukhara,
Uzbekistan.
So I sit down there, and in the Madrasa of Ulugh Beg, who's Timur's grandson and his successor, he takes out a bottle of vodka and salo. You know what salo is? It's preserved pork fat, which you apply on, and I'm like, "Ye ho kya raha hai?" This is almost like Alice in Wonderland happening to me. And we had a chat for 1 hour, sitting and glugging vodka and shit. I'm like, "Boss, I now realize, you know, I never understood why my Muslim friends used to get so upset by what happened to Central Asia. They took a completely backwater and modernized it. When I was a kid, I used to think this is a wonderful thing. Look at all these native savages who have been civilized by the white man, kind of thing. Today I realize they wiped out a whole culture out there. They have no cultural roots. The Kazakhs, the Uzbeks,
But
the
same is
Turkmens.
happening in Bengal. I mean, can you name 5 great
You can't.
poets,
Where is
great poets,
today,
revolutionaries,
कुछ नहीं.
reformers?
See, for the
Where
last,
has it gone?
the
That
last,
land is so
the
fertile.
last 30, 40 years, nothing but shit has come out of Bengal. Literally nothing but shit. And you know, the Bengali journalist is the most overrated lump of shit you'll ever find. You take one paper which I honorifically refer to as the Tatigraph. So what happens with the Tatigraph is, people say I am gay and I give fellatio. That entire telegraph is so gay, they give fellatio to the government better than I could ever dream of. The Telegraph should have a grinder profile.
Abhijit, I can talk, but Bengal one day we'll sit without any clock and we'll talk only Bengal, nothing else. You can also prepare yourself. The reason I am focusing on Bengal, because when I made Kashmir Files, I'm sorry I have to go and you also have to go somewhere in Bandra. For 4 years, we were crying with so much of pain because nobody heard that story. They were thrown out of their houses. And for last 3 years, we are researching Bengal. I started with Partition. We were set to make a film only on Direct Action Day, Noah Khali, the Partition, the truth of Partition, what Suharawardhani did, what Ghulam Sarovar did, what was the role of Gopal Patha, what was Gandhi's role, Jinnah's, all that we were doing. But when I started traveling over there, I started finding so many similarities between what happened then and
What is happening now?
Last 3 years, I have been so angry. It comes out, I try to control, comes out on Twitter. A lot of people think that I am anti the central government. No, why would I file a case against a sitting chief minister and ensure that she sends one day cops early in the morning? The only thing I am doing, I am so effing proud of Bengal's literary, cultural, spiritual history. My idols are Vivekananda and Sri Aurobindo. Yes. I am Gitanjali in my house, on my desk, the only book, I have no pen, no paper, the only book there is Gitanjali, nothing else, because I read it like Gita. For me, it's so beautiful. I mean, there's so many, forget that. I'm trying to, one of the greatest filmmakers we have come out of that place. Some of the fantastic people. Today it's dehydrated, barren land, but when I traveled Sundarban and certain areas on India-Bangladesh border, I personally felt that it's a Kashmir in the making. Maybe it's unconsciously it's happening.
It is.
Maybe we are losing out in the war of center state, but whatever the reason, I would like to end on one thing. I was reading in one of the books, somebody said that after World War, most of the women had Russian blood. The children had Russian blood because so much of rape which took place. In Bengal, after partition, okay, there was so much of Muslim blood which came out of Hindu women. They were raped. You know that it was as a weapon.
Yeah.
Then again in Bangladesh, it was used as a weapon.
My aunts were raped here, as in grand aunts.
So if I sit sometime, you will tell me about
I'll
that
tell you
story.
all about it.
Okay. And today, again in Sundarban, so much of rape is happening, and it's not happening of Hindu women. So nobody, and Hindu obviously, but very specifically tribal women and scheduled caste, scheduled tribe women. Okay, and it's happening in TMC office. And as a nation, we are as blind to this issue as we were in 1980s and early 1980s to mid 90s in Kashmir. If tomorrow something happens like this, I just want to close on this. If something happens like this, who should be held responsible for it? Not us.
Us, entirely us, because we would have been sleeping. We need to open our eyes to it, and I'm going to, since you like Rabindranath Tagore so much, there's a beautiful song in Tasher Desh, the satirical thing which was banned by the British, the Country of Cards. It was kind of like Alice in Wonderlandish. And the song there is Khorobayu Boy Bege, Charidik Chai Mege, Ogani Nau Khani Bhai, which is, there are the summary is there are deep dark clouds, and it's the boatman who's scared of the flowing Ganga, because you know the Ganga there is huge. People don't realize
Like
what a
sea,
massive,
like sea.
it's like the sea, and they are scared what is going to happen, and the boatman is not scared because he's saying Mahakal ka naam lo and just keep rowing and saying Haiyo, Haiyo, Haiyo. We have to just keep rowing and rowing and rowing. The waters seem deep now, but don't be the passenger. Be the boatman who is aware of his situation, and you have to keep doing Haiyo, Haiyo, Haiyo to get to
But
the
who's
other
the
side.
Mahakal today? You and I?
We can pray to Mahakal, but the Mahakal has to come from the top.
Okay, good. Abhijit, it's amazing. I mean, I love talking to you. So thanks a lot for this, and we'll definitely meet. Last, what's happening in election? What's your prediction? Put it on record.
You know, all my election things have gone wrong.
No, Bengal.
Bengal was right. Bengal was right, and Trump's 2016 election was right, but everything else has been wrong.
But next election, Trump, you were wrong.
Next election, Trump, I was wrong. Well, technically, I was right.
2020 you were wrong.
See, 2020, I was right, but it was a rigged election. Which is why I believe the next election also Trump will win, but he will not be allowed to
Talking
win.
like Trump.
Well, it's the truth. He's a truth speaker, you see.
You remember we did one conference together for Trump? Yeah.
Boss, if you've been to America, and I know you've been to America several times, if you've seen their elections, you know that even elections in Bengal are more free and fair than elections in America. American elections are a joke.
What's happening here?
What's happening here is
going to just be a slogan.
400 पार नहीं, पर 3 से 30 से लेके 360 तक मिल जाएगा. That is my
NDA or BJP?
BJP.
Alone?
Yeah.
So NDA can be
BJP
394.
was BJP minimum 330 is what I'm giving
तो
you.
ये लोग पैनिक क्यों कर रहे हैं ये फर्स्ट और सेकंड के बाद? Everybody, a lot of BJP supporters are panicking now.
Let them panic. It's even better, ना?
Why?
मेरे लिए तो बहुत अच्छा है. If they panic, they'll go out and be even more this thing. है ना?
This I must say.
So sorry. Let me now reverse my judgment. भाइयों बहनों, बीजेपी को ना बस 120 सीट मिलने वाला है. तुम जाके अभी पूरा का पूरा किसी को भी बख्शो मत, जाके वोट करो, वो दबा के लोगों को निकाल के वोट कराओ. 120 ही मिलने वाला है. चलो,
thanks a lot for that. लेकिन keep your wealth in locks.
No, keep your wealth abroad. Don't keep it here.
Thank you, Abhijit. Nice talking to you.
Lovely
Wonderful.
talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.